Welcome to this surprise episode on the Abandoned STI, where I want to make a few tweaks to this car to get it ready for its epic battle with the Evo 6. The good news, everyone, is that this car has been running strong all summer. I've been really enjoying it as kind of a weekend car, taking my kids for a rip in it here and there. And there's a few small things about it, though, that I'd like to fix before we head to the track. The first of which is the pedal spacing. I find the throttle pedal sits much lower than the brake pedal and a little too far to the right. Makes it hard to do a nice heel and toe downshift, which I enjoy doing. So to fix that, it turns out Ferris Engineering makes a pedal spacer that not only lift it up, but also allow me to move it left and right, so I'll be able to really dial in that feel. I'm also not loving the rear ride height. I think maybe it's just sagged a little bit over time, or when we initially set it up, we just set the rear ride height just a bit too low. So it's kind of got a bit of a reverse rake in it, and the rear tires actually did rub a little on the track, so I want to prevent that from happening again. So I'm going to raise the rear ride height, and while doing that, I'm going to have the wheels and tires off. So I'm thinking, just to troll Pete a little, I want to throw those 18-inch Anki GTC02s on the car and see how they look, because I think they're actually going to look pretty cool on this car. So let's get to wrenching here, everyone. Oh, and by the way, Moose is working from home. He lives near the shop, so there may be a spotting of a large, sweaty animal here today. So I just pulled out the drive-by-wire throttle pedal here, just held on with two 12mm nuts here, and you can see that the previous owner actually installed a aftermarket pedal here with a bit of an extension on it to try to make it easier to heel and toe. And for whatever reason, you know, different butt shapes, different size feet and all that, I still find it a little bit tricky to heel and toe in this car. So with the Ferris Engineering spacers, it's nicely made out of billet aluminum. You get it in different colors, although I'm not really sure why would the color matter. But in any case, they do offer it in blue and red and black. And as you can see, it's designed to shift the pedal towards the brake pedal. So it's using these the stock studs in this location and moves it over toward the brake pedal. And then you've got these slots here that two bolts come in from the back and allow you to also adjust it up and down. And because I think nothing is more entertaining than watching Moose try to crawl under the dash of one of my cars, or one of Pete and I's cars. I should still be fair to Pete. Why don't we have Moose jump in here and try to install this thing? Look, everyone, Moose sighting. He's about to go under the dash. What do you think your chances of doing this without like pulling a groin, smashing your head on the steering column? What's going to happen here, Moose?
Well, probably less chance than you, but probably still very high.
All right. Well, all I ask is no gas, because YouTube is now full smell-o-vision spec, so be warned, everyone.
No laughing.
No. I never, have a laugh at your expense, Moose.
No, you never do that.
And sorry, everyone, you're not going to be able to see this, but we'll show you afterward. There's clearly no room for a camera and a Moose under this dash. Look at this, everyone. I found a pro angle to show you what the Moose is doing under here.
Losing a bolt is what I'm doing.
You've already lost a bolt?
Yeah, I've already lost a bolt.
Which one? The one that passed through the backside?
No, actually it's the nut.
Oh, you lost the nut. Under the carpet?
Yeah. I'm going in.
Hardware recovered.
Yeah.
Let's see if Mr. Butterfingers here can get the job done. There you can see it's bolted to the firewall using the two studs that the pedal would normally bolt to. And as per Ferris's recommendations, we've installed it as far to the right as we can, because it's already moving the pedal so far left that they recommend not going any further than that, at least for our initial fit up. And now it's time to bolt the pedal on there and see how it feels. Well, the pedal's in there now, and it looks like it's nice and even with the brake pedal. And it's so much closer now, like when I'm on the brake pedal, which is really nice and firm. It's super natural now just to blip the throttle, roll over, and the pedal's right where you want it to be. So for me, that's a big improvement over the stock position of the throttle pedal. And I think I'm so happy with the position of it actually right in sort of like the default recommended settings from Ferris that I'm just going to tighten those bolts down and we're good to go on this. So here's our current setup. These are of course Anki's NT03. I think one of the coolest looking wheels on the market, and they really suit the STI extremely well. I couldn't be happier with them, but I thought, with Pete taking these really nice GTC02s off of the Evo, which has caused some controversy in the comment section. I've certainly seen some comments about put the 18s back on the Evo. So I figured why not tweak Pete a bit by putting them on the STI and seeing how they look. They are a slightly different spec. I believe these are an 18 by 9.5 plus 40. These are an 18 by 9 plus 30. Now we did need a spacer on here to clear the caliper, so maybe this plus 30 won't need the spacer. Not sure how well they're going to fit in the back though, so let's just bolt them on and see how well they fit and see how cool they look. While I'm swapping wheels and tires, I am going to raise the rear ride height just like a 1/4 inch, because as I mentioned earlier, I do find that the car is sitting just a little bit too low in the rear relative to the front. It's kind of got some reverse rake to it. And on a car like this, which tends to have a bit of understeer, you kind of want the opposite actually. You want a bit of rake where the rear is higher than the front. That should help loosen the rear up and get it, to rotate a little bit more. So we gotta have like the S2000 right ahead on an STI, which is not what you want. So I'm gonna raise this up a 1/4 inch and I'll take some measurements and make sure it's, raked a little bit rather than being reverse raked. Just gonna use the KW wrench to crack loose the ride head adjuster here. Go up a 1/4 inch on the shock, hoping that it's about a 1-to-1 ratio, and see where we get. And there you have it, GTC O2's in place, and they do look really good. I love the finish on these. It's got like sort of a bit more depth to the finish, but it doesn't have as much concave in the face as these NTO3s have. So as much as I like them, I think there's just something special about these NTO3s to me. I just feel like it's a more distinctive look, and it just has that little bit more concave to the face that I like, which is why it doesn't have as good caliper clearance. This wheel has incredible caliper clearance. There's no need for a spacer with this 30 offset in the front. However, in the back, you will see that we are gonna rub. This combo, I think, sticks out about 5 mil further than what we have with the NTO3s, and the tire is protruding past the vertical face of the fender lip here, so as we get some compression, I think we were rubbing with those in the rear, so even though I've raised the rear ride height a bit, these are definitely gonna rub. So I'd have to put a bunch of camber in the rear to make those clear, and that's gonna compromise the setup of the car. So I'm gonna go back to the NTO3s, and by the way, let us know, why don't we put a poll up here right now, and let us know which setup you prefer. Do you prefer the GTC O2s, or do you prefer the I don't know, the timeless look, the distinctive look of the NTO3s? We are here at Tollgate Tuning in Mississauga, Ontario, where we're gonna do a quick baseline, basically a checkup on the health of the motor. It's been a year really since we've run it hard, so we just wanna see where we're at. And I may have some secrets up my sleeve about how to make a bit more power too, so stay tuned for that. This is Chris from Tollgate Tuning. He's the head honcho here, and you may recognize him from such videos as Chris beat Dave in his WRX, part 1 and part 2. I still haven't got my revenge. But the car's been coming along, so maybe we need a part 3 and I can finally get a win from this guy. But in the meantime, you've made some significant upgrades around here, including this mainline dyno.
Yeah, we decided to purchase a mainline dyno last year in order to expand our services and be able to offer kind of a different experience that I don't know that anybody else offers within Ontario or Canada. And we didn't want to have any limitations on horsepower or platforms. Not being able to tune CVTs, not being able to tune automatics. We didn't want to run into any of those issues. We want to be able to load a car and not really struggle to get it to do runs. So the mainline is the only real dyno that I've experienced the consistency and the ability to do that. And it takes basically the best of both worlds. You have a eddy current roller dyno and with a hub system. It's the best of both worlds, really.
Yeah, it's pretty wild that I didn't realize it was an eddy current until I got here. Or actually, I watched your video on your channel. Go to, is it just, your channel's just called Tollgate Tuning on YouTube?
Yeah.
Lots of great tech info on there, and it's really interesting that it combines the eddy current and the hub dyno system. So you get the safety of the hub dyno, but the tunability and like the coast down effect and so on that you can get, or the controllability really of an eddy current. Right?
Yeah, it'll do everything. It will do coast down as well, which is nice. You can actually decelerate on the dyno, which other hub dynos aren't able to do that.
So for engine braking, we were thinking, oh, we can do this on here.
Yeah,
very cool.
Yeah.
So let's fire up the old STI here and see how it does on a street tune, meaning 94 octane. Okay. And then we're gonna put in some of that VP Octanium booster, turn up the boost a little bit and see how it does. Well, there you have our two pulls. The first one on 94 pump gas here made 383 peak horsepower, which is very close to what it made last year on a Dynapack. And our peak with the VP Octanium added in, which takes us up to a 102 octane, made 403, which again is very close to what it made on that Dynapack. We did notice it makes a little bit less torque on the mainline, which apparently is typical with the mainlines. They do read a little bit lower torque. I guess just by virtue of the way it loads up, it's a little different than the Dynapacks. And for those of you who recall, we made around 420 as a very peak number. That was on what Mike from Cobb Tuning called our YOLO tune. And that was like really pushing the limits of both boost and ignition timing. We were like right on the ragged edge of knock. So all the maps that we've tested today are safe maps. So he's pulled some timing and a bit of boost out so that we could safely use them on the street and at the track. So these are our safe maps. If we reloaded that YOLO tune in here, we'd get, I think, very close to that 420 number. So these are our new baselines, and I'm really excited to see the motor is still running healthily, although we have a small oil leak from one of the oil lines to the oil coolers, which we can fix with an AN wrench. Well, we're back from the dyno now, and I wanted to address the pedal issue again, because I find with that aftermarket throttle pedal cover that's been added on there, it has that extension on the left side, and when in a big bulky running shoe like this, when my foot's centered on the brake pedal, I'm still catching the throttle pedal when I don't want to. So I just want to trim that edge off of that pedal cover on the throttle so that in shoes like this, I'm not hitting the throttle accidentally. In a racing shoe, it wouldn't be an issue with that pedal cover the way it is, but I drive enough on the street in running shoes like this that it'd just be nice to have that little bit extra clearance so that I'm not clipping it with my running shoe. I guess the other option is we might be able to move it side to side with the Ferris spacer, so maybe we'll check that first actually before we go trimming it, but we may have to trim that pedal cover. And then after that, we will address the leaking oil line underneath the front. We'll have a good look. We'll get it up on the lift and see if there's something wrong with the way the line's been assembled. Has it been pulled apart a bit, or has the fitting just come loose?
Dave has marked where he wants this outer piece gone, so now it's just a matter of putting this through the bandsaw and seeing what kind of results I can get here. Safety first, though. Okay, there we have it. I've cleaned it up a little bit too, and I think it looks pretty much like OEM. So let's get this slapped back on, and then we can see if it still bothers Dave.
All right, look at that. My big bulky running shoe now clears the throttle pedal, and I can just pivot over there and give it a whack when I want to. So that's perfect. That is dialed. So let's move on to that leaky oil line. I'm just checking this, and it is pretty damn tight. I can move it a bit, but it is tight. So I think maybe what we have the problem with is there's a fitting that goes into the oil cooler portion of our CSF oil cooler rad combo here. And normally this is a fitting that comes out and has an O-ring underneath it. And it was leaking from there. I think that the O-ring got torn. We didn't have another O-ring that would fit it. And I figured, you know what, we never need to take that out. So I JB welded it in there trying to fix the problem. And I can see now that because of the rad fan housing, I couldn't really get JB weld on the top very well. So I suspect that's where the leak is, because this is tight. There's no sign of it leaking anywhere like back in this joint. So I think we just got to seal that up better and we should be good. Well, we've put a bunch more JB Quick Set on there, and if that leaks, I'll be shocked. We've definitely overkilled it there. We've checked the rest of the line. Everything looks good to us. So I'm confident that's going to fix that leak. So I think we are all set, and I think that's a wrap on this episode, everyone. The STI is ready for battle, although I may have one more trick up my sleeve, which you're gonna have to wait for, because there's gonna be one more surprise episode on the STI before it hits the track against the Evo, and that surprise episode may just make that trip to the dyno make a little more sense.